Title: Thrown out at 17. With $12 and a garbage bag, now my family wants my success. At 17, I was cast out with only $12 and a garbage bag of clothes. Now, after years of silence and deception, my family wants to share in the $750,000 home I built. When I was 17, my father told me I wasn't destined for greatness. It wasn't a fleeting jab. No, he said it with calm certainty, as if he were offering me clarity, as if accepting my role in the family would simplify everything. "You're the extra," he said, barely glancing up from his coffee. "Your brother's the one who matters." Those words etched something deep inside me. Growing up, I always felt like a side character in someone else's tale. My older brother Ethan was the shining star, athlete, top student, family pride. He had the room with the view, a shiny new car at 16, and a dad who called him buddy, even after his mistakes. Me? I got secondhand clothes, wary looks, and scoldings for breathing too loudly. At first, I thought I was the issue. I pushed harder. Got a job at 15, kept my grades steady, even tutored Ethan in math when he started failing, but nothing shifted. My mom called me idle when I slept past noon on Sundays, even after late shifts at the diner. My dad said I lacked drive when I dreamed of culinary school over college. And Ethan? He grinned every time they criticized me, like he relished their disapproval. Things spiraled the summer before my senior year. Ethan crashed his car after a party, totaling it while drunk. I found him in the garage, tears streaming, blood on his brow, pleading with me not to tell our parents. I didn't. I took the fall. I said I'd borrowed the car without permission, panicked, and fled. I thought maybe this would earn their respect. Maybe they'd see my loyalty, my willingness to shield the family. Instead, they threw me out. My dad didn't shout. He just pointed to the door and said, "Pack up. You've disgraced us enough." That night, I slept in a bus stop 2 streets away. The next morning, I returned to grab my school bag from the porch, only to find a garbage bag stuffed with my clothes and a note. "You're on your own. Learn from this. No one checked on me. Not once." My mom told her church group I'd chosen a life of rebellion. Ethan went to the Bahamas 2 weeks later, posting beach photos like nothing happened. I survived by working double shifts at a gas station, sleeping on cardboard in the back room when the manager wasn't around. The worst part? The silence. No birthday calls, no holiday cards, no, "How are you?" It was like I'd never existed. For 3 years, I was a ghost. Only after earning my associate's degree in business through community college, after moving 3 towns over and starting a small freelance marketing business using library Wi-Fi, did I feel like I might be free. Until last month. A text from my mom. One line. "Is that you on the billboard by Highway 12? It was. The local business association had featured me as a rising entrepreneur after I helped local stores boost their online sales during the pandemic. It wasn't a massive deal globally, but to me it was everything. Proof I wasn't extra. Proof I was more than a shadow. 2 hours later, my dad called. I didn't pick up. Then came voicemails. From Ethan, from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. All suddenly warm, suddenly interested, suddenly asking how I was. I didn't respond, because I knew they hadn't changed. They only cared because I had something they wanted. Sure enough, the next day, my mom left another voicemail. "We're struggling," she said. "Ethan and his wife might lose their apartment. We thought maybe you had that extra room you mentioned." I laughed out loud. That extra room? It didn't exist. I owned the entire house. Paid for in cash. I didn't reply to her message. Not that day, not the next. Not even when Aunt Clara messaged me on social media saying, "It would mean so much to the family if you helped out." Helped out? I nearly spit out my tea. Where were they when I was sleeping at a bus stop, Aunt Clara? It's strange how people wield family like a free pass, as if blood erases neglect. I didn't block them. I didn't rant online. I just stayed quiet. But silence wasn't enough. The next week, after a client meeting, I saw a familiar car parked across from my house, a gray Toyota Camry, my parents' car. I stared for 5 minutes before pulling into my driveway. There, on my porch, sat my mother with a container of what I assumed was guilt-soaked zucchini bread. She stood when I stepped out of my car. "You look amazing," she said, arms outstretched. I didn't hug her. I just stared, like she was a stranger, because she was. "Mom," I said softly, "why are you here?" She smiled like this was a casual visit. "I wanted to see you. It's been so long. I thought we could talk, catch up." I leaned against the door frame, unmoving. "Is Ethan okay?" I asked. Her expression faltered. There it was. The real reason. Not love, not remorse, not even an apology. "Ethan and Sarah lost their place," she said. "They couldn't keep up with rent. With the baby coming, they need somewhere to stay, just for a bit. Your dad thought maybe we could all stay here just for a few months. I almost laughed. You threw me out with a garbage bag and a note, I said slowly. I begged you to hear me, and you told me to learn from it. Now you want my home? My peace? For the son you chose over me? She blinked, like I'd struck her. It was complicated back then. We thought we were doing the right thing. No, I interrupted. You did what was convenient. You believed Ethan's lies because it made your life easier, even if it destroyed mine. Silence. For the first time, I saw a flicker of guilt in her eyes. Then, defensiveness. We didn't know how things would turn out. You've clearly succeeded. Maybe it wasn't all bad. That right there. They abandoned me, and now they wanted credit? You're not coming in, I said firmly. Tell Dad, Ethan, and everyone else there's no extra room here. She opened her mouth, likely to plead or guilt me, but I was already turning the key. Then she said it. You're being selfish. I paused, turned, and smiled. No, Mom. I'm just done being a tool for people who only remember me when they need something. Then I shut the door. She didn't knock again. That night I lay awake, replaying everything. Their audacity to show up, to ask for help, to act like we were still family after what they did. For a moment, guilt crept in. The old ache of wondering if I was the villain now, but I remembered my mom's face at the principal's office when Ethan lied about me hitting him. How she wept for him, never once looking at me with trust, love, or even curiosity. Just disdain. I remembered being dragged from school, pushed out of my home. I remembered the silence. I owed them nothing. Still, I wasn't finished. I didn't want revenge, but accountability. So I wrote a message, not to them, but to my extended family. The cousins, aunts, uncles who'd heard their version of my story for years. Who thought I was troubled, defiant, broken. I told them everything. The car crash, my false confession, the garbage bag on the porch, the years of silence, the zucchini bread visit. I attached a screenshot of a text Ethan sent years ago, gloating about how easy it was to erase me. I hit send. I wasn't afraid anymore. The message spread through the family chat within an hour. I'd muted it years ago, but my phone buzzed non-stop. Aunt Susan. Is this true? I had no idea. Uncle Mark. Your parents said you ran away. Drugs, they said. Cousin Rachel. I always wondered why you vanished. I'm so sorry. Messages poured in. Sympathy, shock, regret. Some were clumsy, more about their unease than my pain, but I didn't care. I hadn't written for sympathy. I wrote for truth. Then, a name I never expected. Sarah, Ethan's wife. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. He said you were unstable, violent, that your grandmother took you in after you attacked your mom. I feel sick. I stared at her message, unsure how to respond. She wrote again. I left him last night. My breath caught. She'd read my email to Ethan aloud. He laughed, then grew defensive, then furious. He grabbed her phone, tried to delete it, and yelled at her for being gullible. Sarah, 7 months pregnant and done with his lies, packed a bag and left for her sister's. She said my message broke something in her. She saw his pattern now and knew their baby deserved better. I didn't gloat. I just said, you made the right choice. That should have been the end, but Ethan hated being exposed. 3 days later, I was leaving my favorite cafe when I heard my name. I turned, and there he was. Ethan. He looked worn, unshaved, eyes hollow, still wearing his old high school jacket like it could reclaim his glory days. You think you're above me now? He sneered. I didn't answer. He stepped closer. Too close. You always played the victim. What, you want everyone to pity you? You think anyone cares about your sad little story? I smelled the stale beer on his breath. You lied, I said, calm and steady. So what? He laughed, sharp and bitter. You survived, didn't you? Got your fancy house, your little billboard. Stop whining. I wanted to scream, to list every sleepless night, every lonely birthday, every moment I doubted myself because of him. But I didn't. He wanted a reaction. So I stepped past him, opened my car door, and said one thing. You lied. I thrived. Live with that. I left him in the parking lot. That night, I had dinner with my grandmother. She was the only one who never needed proof. I told her everything. The email, the messages, the encounter with Ethan. She listened, hands folded, nodding quietly. When I finished, she reached across the table and held my hand. You did well, she said. That was enough. A week later, I received a certified letter from my parents' lawyer threatening defamation over my email. I laughed. My own lawyer, yes, I finally hired one, told me to relax. Their claims were empty. The evidence, especially Ethan's text, would crush them. I never heard from their lawyer again. They went silent. Again. When you stop being useful, you vanish. That's when I decided to do something I hadn't in years. I framed the note they left with my garbage bag. You're on your own. Learn from this. It hangs in my office now beside my business association award. Some framed degrees, I framed a lesson. And turned it into a vow. Extra. That's what he called me. Just extra. A shadow in the family portrait. A name rarely spoken unless paired with "what's wrong with her?" But the cruelest part of being extra? They try to repurpose you. It started again with a knock. Not a call, not a text. A knock at my door just after sunset. I almost didn't answer, but something urged me to. It wasn't my father I saw. It was a man diminished, shrinking in his own skin. No gruff tone, no arrogance. Just a man in a worn sweater holding an envelope, not a letter, a stack of documents. "I'm signing the house over to you," he said, avoiding my gaze. "Your grandmother said you earned it more than any of us." My grandmother. That's when I knew something was wrong. "She's sick," he said, finally meeting my eyes. "Cancer, stage 4. We sat in silence on my porch, the same porch where my mother begged for a room. She didn't want to tell you," he muttered. "Said it would pull you from your work. Said she was proud." Proud. That word hit harder than anything. I looked at the garden she helped me plant last spring. Lavender, rosemary, marigolds. Her living prayer, she called it. I could still see her faded gloves hanging on the fence. I swallowed my anger. This wasn't about them anymore. It was about her. She passed 3 weeks later, in my home, the one they said I didn't deserve. I held her hand as her breaths faded. She wasn't afraid. She just said, "Promise me you'll plant something new every spring. That's how you begin again." And then she was gone. But not before her final gift. A truth I never saw coming. I found it in a wooden box under her bed, sealed with a letter in her slanted, tidy handwriting, to the granddaughter they never saw. Inside were journal entries, yellowed pages from when I was 9, 11, 14, years I'd buried. She'd recorded everything. My ignored birthdays, the bruises, the lies, how Ethan orchestrated every accusation, how my mother called me a burden when she thought no one heard. Proof. And at the bottom, a notarized deed transfer for her house, signed to me, her sole heir. I didn't cry. Not because I wasn't heartbroken, but because her final act wasn't about grief. It was justice. She'd rewritten our story. The funeral was small, by design. No open invites, no family drama, just people who'd stand in silence without rewriting history. But they came anyway. Ethan, my mother, dressed in black, as if it could hide their past, lingering at the crowd's edge, waiting for their moment. After the last prayer, my mother approached. No tears. She just scanned the garden, the house, the community of friends and colleagues around me, people who chose me. Then she asked, "Is it true? She left everything to you?" I met her gaze and gave her the answer she'd always withheld from me. "Yes." That night, they left a letter on my doorstep. Typed, formal, cold. A request for temporary housing, for healing and transition. They wanted to live in her house, the same house they'd left her in when she took me in. I sat with that letter for a long time. Then I wrote back. "Dear Mr. and Mrs. Carter, thank you for your request to stay at 49 Maplewood Lane. Currently, all spaces are filled with peace, quiet, dignity, and the long overdue fragrance of lavender. We cannot accommodate guests who discarded these values. May you find refuge in the consequences of your choices. Sincerely, the extra no more." I posted it online, not for drama, but for truth. It spread. People shared it, commented, messaged me, not for gossip, but for connection. Because I wasn't alone. There are so many of us, so many extras who were the whole engine. Today, I walked through my grandmother's garden and planted something new as promised. A white rose bush named Renewal. This time, the story doesn't end in exile or anger. It ends in roots, because I'm not extra. I'm the seed that grew.